Okay, hi everyone. This is my latest plane. This is the Mig-29 RC Powers version 2. With this plane, I was looking to do something a little bit different. I wanted this plane to be quite light and quite simple. The reason being because, as you can see, the wings on this plane are not all that large. They're quite small, and therefore the plane has a pretty high wing loading, meaning it's not very floaty. So I wanted to keep it as light as possible. But I also wanted to try out some new build techniques, some of the things that I've seen some guys do on the forums, which I thought was pretty cool. So I thought I'd try that out. So first of all, to keep it light, I've set this up with only two moving surfaces, which is these two elevons at the back. So these are the only surfaces that move. For elevator control, they move together, and for aileron control, to roll the plane, they move separately. But they're the only two control surfaces that move. Which means that there's only two servos and a pretty light motor. So the motor is this one here. It's a Turnigy 2826-6. Only weighs about 50 grams, but puts out a decent amount of thrust. Inside the plane, we've got a Turnigy Trust 45 amp speed controller. I like this speed controller because it stays quite cool. And the receiver, which is here, that's the radio receiver, and the battery, and that's all there is. There's no other electronics there. The two servos, you can see one is on the side here. Let's see if we can get that in better light. There we go. So that's one servo, just one control wire to the control horn, and the second servo on the other side, and that's the only two servos that are on the entire plane. Some of the other build techniques that I wanted to try out was, I've seen a couple of the guys on the forums putting spackle in between the cracks here on the nose, so I've done that. I've used a lightweight spackle that's sort of a drywall filler. We call it gyprock here in Australia. So I've done that. Now what I found when I did that was that it would crack off very easily, and so I decided that I would need to paint it in order to give it some strength. So I painted it. I still found it a little bit brittle, so I've covered over all the areas that have the spackle with plastic packing tape. It's just a light film packing tape that I've put over it. Now I think it looks good. It's a bit shiny, but it does give it a more realistic, more curved look with the spackle there than without it. So I think that's a good move. The other thing I wanted to try was just some new painting techniques. I was bored of just using grey paint, and I decided to use some bright colours to make it more visible. So I use an airbrush just to paint my planes, and that's what I did. And I wanted to try a checkerboard pattern out, so I used masking tape, and you can see here where I prepared it. I've just put masking tape down and cut it up into little bits, and then little squares, and then put it on here and paint it over the top, and then then taking the masking tape off. Pretty simple, but I think it's a nice effect, and it should look good in the air. So that's pretty much the plane. Pretty simple. I've also put some packing tape over the leading edges of the wings, the elevons, and the rudder. The idea there, just give it a little bit of extra strength. But it's a pretty simple plane. It isn't too heavy. I haven't weighed it yet, but it's not very heavy. It's probably the lightest of all my planes. So that's it. Just wanted to get it on video before I crash it. Make sure that there are some good shots of it. Alright, so I'll probably see if I can maiden it this weekend if the weather turns out alright. In any case, you should see it the maiden online pretty soon. Cheers.